Before we start, please make sure to like this video and hit this subscribe button, so you never miss a story like this. And also comments where you are watching from, how many sons and daughters you have. Thanks. My name is Margaret, and I wish I could say this is a story about growing old peacefully, surrounded by love and family. But no. It's not that kind of story. This is the kind where a woman who gave everything is told, to her face, that she's no longer needed. No longer wanted. Not even welcome in the life she helped build. You need to leave. Today. Those were the words that shattered the silence in my son's living room, spat like venom across the air by the one woman I never should have trusted. My daughter-in-law, Jenna, stood in front of me, arms crossed like she was the queen of someone else's castle. Her voice wasn't shaky. It wasn't nervous. It was firm, cold, and cruel, like she'd been rehearsing it. I stood there in my cardigan, holding the dinner tray I'd made for my grandson. His favorite, macaroni with butter, no cheese, just how he liked it when he had a sore throat. But Jenna didn't care. She didn't even look at me when she said it again, this time louder, sharper, like I hadn't heard her the first time. You need to leave, Margaret. For good. I blinked at her, stunned. Excuse me? You heard me, she snapped. I've been patient. But this is my house. My family. And you've overstepped for the last time. I laughed. I actually laughed, which is what people do when they can't quite process the knife that's just been driven into their chest. Overstepped? I've been taking care of your son while you spend all day on the couch scrolling Instagram. I make dinner, clean up after your child, and make sure your dog doesn't eat crayons. Jenna rolled her eyes. No one asked you to do that. We're not running a retirement home here. And I'm not going to let my son grow up thinking you're the parent. I was shaking now, not with fear, but with fury. I'm not trying to replace anyone. I'm trying to help. I'm his grandmother. And I raised your husband alone while working 2 jobs, so forgive me if I actually know what I'm doing. Oh please, she scoffed. You raised a man who can't even say no to his mommy. It's pathetic. That was when my son, Eric, finally walked in, as if the shouting hadn't been echoing off the walls for 5 minutes already. He looked between us like a scared little boy caught between 2 feuding parents. I expected him to defend me. Or say something. Anything. But he didn't. He rubbed the back of his neck, eyes darting to the floor. Mom, maybe it's best if you take a break. Just for a while. You've been staying with us for 6 months now. My heart cracked in 2. Not because he said it, but because he didn't mean it. I saw it in his eyes. He was scared of her. Controlled. Defeated. Eric, I whispered, she's tearing this family apart. He avoided my gaze. Just pack some things, okay? I turned back to Jenna, and she was smiling. Not politely. Not kindly. It was the smile of a woman who won. And that's when something inside me flipped. She thought she'd kicked me out. She thought she'd erased me with a few cruel words. But I'd raised fighters. I'd fought for my family with blood, sweat, and sleepless nights. And now, I realized I had to fight against one of them. Fine, I said, placing the tray on the counter gently. I'll leave today. But don't think this is the end. She raised an eyebrow. Oh? What are you going to do, Margaret? Post about me on Facebook? I stepped forward, looking her straight in the eyes. No, Jenna. I'm going to take back everything you stole from me. One step at a time. She laughed, shaking her head. You really don't get it, do you? You're irrelevant. You're old. You're just a lonely, bitter woman with no place here anymore. No place? I repeated, my voice calm now. Cold. You forget whose shoulders you're standing on. And with that, I picked up my purse and walked out. But don't think for a second that I was broken. I was planning. I was watching. I was waiting. Because if she wanted a war, she just declared it. Against the woman who built the battlefield. This is not a story about a woman who gave up. This is a story about a mother who got erased from her son's life, and found a way to rewrite the ending. And believe me, Jenna never saw it coming. I didn't cry when I left their house that day. Not in the driveway. Not in the car. Not even when I reached my tiny one-bedroom apartment across town. But I did stare at the walls for hours, the same blank walls I hadn't seen in 6 months. The ones that used to echo with silence before I moved in with Eric to help after the baby. I'd sold my house to be closer to them. I'd walked away from the last piece of property with my name on it so I could be a full-time grandmother. And in a single afternoon, that woman wiped away every sacrifice I had made, with a smug smile and a "you need to leave." She kicked me out of my son's life like I was a broken lamp taking up space. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not because I was sad, but because I was angry. And anger, for women like me, isn't just noise. It's energy. It's fuel. It's something you turn into a plan. I started small. I made a list. Not a list of revenge, but of truth. Because revenge is messy. Truth, though? Truth is unstoppable. I listed every secret Jenna thought I didn't notice. The way she left the baby alone to FaceTime her friends. The money she was taking from Eric's account and sending to her brand consultant. The girls' nights that started on Fridays and ended Sunday mornings with no calls in between. The way my grandson would tell me things, quiet things, that kids only say when they don't know they're telling on someone. And then I listed my strengths. I knew her schedule. I knew her passwords, yes, I did. She wasn't as clever as she thought. I knew her habits. Her pride. Her weak spots. Most of all, I knew people. Because when you live long enough, and you love hard enough, people come back when you need them. I started showing up. Not to their house. Never again. I respected that boundary. But I showed up at my grandson's daycare. Volunteered. Helped with snacks and cleanup. The teachers adored me. They even asked why I hadn't been around lately. Oh, I'd say with a sad smile. Just some family misunderstandings. You know how daughters-in-law can be sometimes. The women would nod. They always nodded. That's the thing about being dismissed, every other dismissed woman becomes your silent army. Next, I started working part-time at the boutique where Jenna used to brag about getting all her outfits free. They didn't know she owed them money. But they knew after I showed them her unpaid invoices, screenshots I just happened to have from an email she left open on her laptop one night. The manager said, "We've been trying to collect from her for months." "You're her mother-in-law?" I just smiled. Was. Now I'm just someone who wants to make things right. They offered me a discount and a job on the spot. Every step was quiet. Careful. Calculated. I never lied. I never made anything up. I just let the truth float to the surface, and watched what happened when people stopped believing in her perfection. And Eric? My sweet, confused Eric? I didn't call. I didn't beg. But I mailed one photo, just one. A picture of him as a little boy, sleeping on my chest after a bad fever. On the back, I wrote, "I've always been here. When you're ready, I still will be." No lectures. No guilt. Just the truth. And then, one day, I got a call. Not from Eric. From Jenna. She was panicked. Rushed. Her voice tight with desperation. "Hi. Margaret? So. Would you be able to, maybe, watch Liam for a couple of hours today?" I almost dropped the phone. What happened to "no place here anymore"? I asked, calmly. There was a pause. I was wrong, okay, she said quickly. I need help. I wanted to say no. God, I wanted to. But that little boy? He didn't choose any of this. So I said, of course. I'll be there in 10. When I arrived, she looked tired. Not from makeup or parties or playdates, but from panic. Her nails were chipped. Her eyes were red. And behind her was a pile of unopened mail and dishes in the sink. The picture of a perfect life unraveling. I appreciate it, she mumbled, barely looking at me. I'm not here for you, I replied, walking past her. I'm here for Liam. He came running into my arms, giggling. Grandma. And in that moment, I knew I hadn't lost. She tried to erase me from the picture. But you can't erase the frame that holds the whole thing together. You can try to push me out. But I'll always find a way back in, not through force, not through lies, but through love, loyalty, and patience. One step at a time, I was taking back what mattered. And Jenna? She was about to learn what happens when you try to cut out the one woman who never needed credit, just respect. Because I wasn't just the mother-in-law anymore. I was the storm she didn't see coming. And I was just getting started. It started with whispers. That's how these things always start, not explosions, not public takedowns. Just a few raised eyebrows. A few double takes. A few "are you sure?" said behind her back. Jenna always thought her world was untouchable. She had followers, a curated Instagram life, sponsored posts, and just the right amount of mom guilt to keep her audience invested. She sold struggle and sparkles like it was a lifestyle brand, but it was all a facade. And facades? They fall when you stop holding them up. At the daycare, the teachers started noticing things. How Liam came in with snacks that weren't packed properly. How he wore the same shirt 3 days in a row. How he didn't talk about mommy anymore, just screens and iPads. They asked questions. I didn't answer them, not directly. I'd just say, let me know if he needs anything. I'm still his grandmother. That hasn't changed. But I could see it. The shift. The way they started calling me instead of her when something came up. The way they added me to the emergency list without her even knowing. And the boutique? Oh, she was practically blacklisted now. Not because I tattled, but because the truth spoke louder than I ever could. The emails. The unpaid balances. The returns she never made. Her little empire of image management? Gone. She couldn't even get a new outfit for her own podcast appearance. I know because she called me again. This time, her voice was cracked. Exhausted. I just need someone to keep Liam overnight, she said. I didn't ask why. I already knew. Eric was pulling away. He'd called me 2 nights before. A quiet, hesitant call. Like a boy caught in the middle of a storm he didn't know how to escape. Mom? I'm here, I said, breath catching. I don't know what's going on anymore. I feel like I don't even know my own wife. I didn't gloat. I didn't say I told you so. I just said, you're finally seeing what's been in front of you. She told me you were making things worse, he whispered. But now I don't know who's making what worse. You'll figure it out, I told him. And when you do, I'll still be here. That night, Liam slept over at my apartment for the first time in months. I made his favorite dinner. Read his favorite book. Tucked him in with the blanket he used to call dragon armor. As I watched him sleep, I felt something settle in me. Not revenge. Not even triumph. Just peace. Because I had taken nothing from Jenna. Not once did I raise my voice or slam a door. I just let her own lies do the work. She had built a tower of glass, and I held up a mirror. The next morning, she came to pick Liam up in sunglasses and silence. But I saw the puffiness under her eyes. The shake in her hands. The shame. She didn't thank me. Of course she didn't. Women like her rarely do. They see gratitude as weakness, but I knew better. I didn't need her words. Her silence was enough. Later that week, I got another call from the community center. They were looking for volunteers for the family fair. Jenna had been listed as the organizer, but she'd dropped out last minute. "Would you be willing to step in?" the woman asked me. "We remember how involved you used to be." I smiled. "I'd be honored." And just like that, I was back. Not back in her world, but back where it mattered. The neighborhood moms who used to praise Jenna's curated chaos now stood by me, asking for advice, thanking me for stepping up. Some of them even whispered, "She never really talked to anyone anyway." No one said it aloud, but everyone could feel it. The queen had fallen, and the real matriarch had quietly taken the throne. And Eric? He came by. For coffee. For conversation. He even started dropping Liam off just because. He looked older now, not in age, but in weight. Like the truth had aged him. But his eyes? They softened every time he saw me. "I should have listened to you," he said one day. I shook my head. "No. You needed to see it for yourself." He nodded slowly. "Jenna says you're trying to take over her life." I looked at him and said, "I'm not trying to take anything. I'm just reclaiming what she tried to throw away." He didn't argue. Because deep down, he knew. I wasn't in the shadows anymore. I wasn't the woman pushed aside like a forgotten coat. I was back in my grandson's life. Back in my community. Back in my son's trust. And Jenna? She had kicked me out of her world, and now she was watching me become the heartbeat of it. Not with power. Not with force. But with patience. With presence. With every step she thought didn't matter, every kindness she mocked, every truth she twisted. It was all unfolding. And we weren't done yet. Because the next time Jenna tried to humiliate me, she made a mistake. A big one. And it would lead to the moment that changed everything. It was a Saturday morning when everything came to a boil. The community fair had just started. I was standing by the sign-in table, greeting parents and handing out wristbands to the kids. Everything was running smoothly, balloons floating, music playing, lemonade stands humming. And then, Jenna showed up. She walked in late, of course, heels clicking like she owned the place. Tight white dress, too much makeup for 9 a.m., sunglasses she didn't take off even once. Holding Liam's hand like a prop, not a child. And dragging some videographer behind her with a handheld camera. She was vlogging. At the community fair. That she didn't plan. That she abandoned. "Say hi to the vlog, babe," she called out to Liam, who looked like he just wanted to crawl into my arms and disappear. I stood still. Calm. Watching. She made her way toward my booth, all smiles, all fakery. "I heard you stepped in," she said in that sing-song voice she used when she wanted to seem generous. "Thanks for keeping it cute. We all do our part, right?" I smiled. "Of course. The kids deserve it." The camera swung toward me. And I saw it in her eyes, that glint. That sharp, cold glint. She wasn't here to contribute. She was here to take back control. "Actually," she said, flipping her hair and facing the camera, "I was the original organizer of this event. But I've been so busy with some big brand projects that I handed it off to my dear mother-in-law, who's just thrilled to help, aren't you, Carol?" Her voice was sugar. Her smile was poison. And the moment was crafted for one thing, humiliation. The camera panned to me. I knew she expected me to shrink. To fluster. To stumble over my words. To fade back into the wallpaper like the obedient old woman she always imagined me to be. But not this time. I looked straight into the lens. My voice steady. My eyes fierce. "Actually," I said, "I organized this entire event in the last 6 days because the original planner disappeared without a word. I was told she ghosted the vendors, didn't respond to the school board, and left 3 unpaid invoices. But I'm glad you made it. It's important for the kids to see grown-ups follow through. A pause. Her mouth twitched. The camera caught everything. The smile. The stagger. The first visible crack. "Oh," she said, still laughing but a little too loud. "You're always so dramatic, Carol." I stepped closer. "Quiet now. No yelling. Just truth, the kind that cuts deep. Dramatic would be telling your husband I hit Liam when I disciplined him once for trying to stick a fork in an electrical socket. Dramatic would be sending your friends fake screenshots of text messages I never sent. Dramatic would be calling CPS on me, anonymously, and lying about how I kidnapped my own grandson. Do you want to keep going, Jenna? Or should we talk about real drama?" Her face flushed red. But it wasn't embarrassment. It was fear. Because she realized something, I wasn't holding back anymore. "I don't know what you're talking about," she snapped, crossing her arms. "You're making yourself look unhinged." I laughed. "Just once. Low. Steady." "Sweetheart," I said, "I brought proof." I turned toward the school director, who had been watching the exchange silently. I handed her a sealed folder. Inside? Email threads. Message logs. Screenshots. Time-stamped evidence of Jenna's manipulation, from lies she told about volunteer schedules, to a nasty little group chat where she called other moms poor, desperate tryhards. She tried to grab the folder. I pulled it back. "No," I said. "You've had your turn. Now it's mine." The director didn't even need to open it right away. She looked at Jenna, really looked at her, and took the folder into her hands. "We'll be reviewing this," she said. "But for now, I think it's best you leave the premises." Jenna gasped. "What? You're seriously going to take her word over mine?" The director's eyes didn't flinch. "No," she said. "We're going to take the evidence over your performance." Mothers from the booth stopped what they were doing. They stared. One by one, they whispered. Some crossed their arms. One woman even said, "About time." And for the first time since this entire nightmare began, Jenna had no crowd. No backup. No defenders. Just silence. And as she turned on her heel, yanking Liam behind her, he resisted. He actually pulled his hand away from hers and ran back toward me. Wrapped his arms around my waist. And said, loud and clear, "I want to stay with Grandma." She froze. But I didn't move. "I'll walk him home after the fair," I said. "Unless you'd like to cause another scene in front of the entire PTA." Her face broke. Not in tears. But in defeat. She stormed off, camera dangling, dress too tight, heels too high. And I turned back to my booth. Picked up the wristbands. And smiled. Because this wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about restoration. And I wasn't done. Not yet. The next week moved like molasses. Jenna didn't speak to me. Not a word. But suddenly, everyone else did. The mothers who used to avoid me at pickup were now dropping by my classroom with banana bread and awkward apologies. The school board invited me to join the event planning committee permanently. Even the janitor, Henry, who barely said more than 2 words to anyone, told me, "You did the right thing, ma'am." But none of it mattered until I had one conversation. With my son. Eric showed up at my house 2 days later. No call. Just knocked. Stood there on my porch like a man half broken, holding Liam's backpack in one hand, and a piece of paper in the other. His eyes were red. "Can I come in?" he asked. I didn't say anything. Just opened the door and stepped aside. He sat on the couch like he used to when he was 13 and nervous to confess something, back when he'd broken a neighbor's window or failed a test. He fiddled with the paper in his hands. I found it, he finally said. The report from CPS. You were right. She lied. About everything. He swallowed hard. Voice cracking. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Why didn't you fight back? I looked at him. Really looked. My son, the boy I raised, who turned into a man, and then somehow turned into a stranger. He looked so tired. So ashamed. I did, I said quietly. You just didn't see it. He looked down. And then he said it. The words I thought I'd never hear again. Mom. I'm sorry. I didn't cry. I wanted to cry. My body begged for it, all the years of rejection, the birthdays missed, the little dinners I cooked that went untouched because he had other plans, it all wanted to spill out in tears. But instead, I just reached over. And I held his hand. I forgive you, I said. But you have to do what's right now. Not for me. For Liam. He nodded. Slowly. Like a man waking up from a coma. I already filed the papers, he said. I'm getting full custody. I should have done it long ago. I nodded once. And Jenna? His voice turned steel. She can keep her followers. I'll keep my son. We sat in silence for a long while after that. And for the first time in years, it wasn't uncomfortable. It was healing. A few weeks passed. Jenna's influencer deals dried up. The school terminated her volunteer credentials. She posted a teary video claiming she was being bullied by older women who don't support young mothers. It didn't land. People were tired of her lies. But I didn't gloat. I didn't celebrate. I just focused on Liam. We painted his bedroom at my house bright blue. We made a chore chart. I packed his lunches with little notes inside. I read to him every night. And sometimes, when he was already asleep, I'd sit beside him, just watching his chest rise and fall, and I'd pray silently that no one ever made him feel unwanted again. Not like I had. Then, one crisp fall morning, the courtroom moment finally came. I sat behind Eric in that stiff, echoey room. Jenna stood to the side, makeup flawless, but hands shaking. She tried to argue. Tried to paint herself as the victim. Even tried to smear me again, saying I brainwashed her husband and turned her son against her. But this time, the judge wasn't buying it. Nor was Eric. He stood up, voice firm. She cut my mother out of our lives. Lied about her. Used my son like a pawn. I was blind to it. I let it happen. But not anymore. My mother is the only constant Liam's ever had. And if I have any sense left, I'll fight like hell to keep her in his life. The judge granted him full custody. Jenna stormed out of the courtroom without looking at either of us. And just like that, the war was over. Afterward, as we stepped outside, Eric handed me a folded paper. It was a school form. Emergency contact, he said with a soft smile. They need someone listed who'll always pick up. I figured you've already earned that title. I signed it without blinking. I was more than an emergency contact. I was the woman who refused to disappear. The mother who kept showing up. The grandma who wouldn't back down, even when pushed out, lied about, and forgotten. And now? Now I had everything that mattered. Liam's hand in mine. My son's heart back where it belonged. And peace, not the quiet kind, but the earned kind. The kind that comes after fire. My name is Carol. My daughter-in-law kicked me out of my son's life. So I took over hers, one step at a time. And I didn't do it with revenge. I did it with love, patience, and truth. Because in the end, those are the things that always win.